Hi, this is Jennifer Dono. You're watching the Young Female Entrepreneurs live stream that happens every Thursday night here at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern in the Oval Eye studio. Tonight's show is brought to you by Oval Eye, where we empower your home office lifestyle through web hosting, cloud services, and domain names. Visit ovaleye.com to buy your domain today. And by audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/ovaleye. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So again, my name's Jennifer Dono. I'm the director of YoungFemaleEntrepreneurs.com, and this is the Young Female Entrepreneurs live stream. Like I said, it happens every Thursday here at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 Eastern in the Oval Eye studio. We are now broadcasting live from yfe.me/watch-it. It's a shortened URL for YoungFemaleEntrepreneurs.com/live. You can also find it on our Facebook page at facebook.com/YoungFemaleEntrepreneurs. So tonight's show is about dating. Every Young Female Entrepreneurs live stream somehow gets to the topic of dating. We had Doc Run, the founder, Jennifer, rooting on a few weeks back. And she's this big CEO that's been an entrepreneur since she was 19 years old, lots and lots of funding, just incredible woman. And at the end of the live stream, we got to talking about dating and what her dating life is like. Because this is a topic that young female entrepreneurs have to deal with, unfortunately, trying to figure out how to meet guys while building a startup, how to date, how to nurture relationships. It's just an issue for us. So tonight we're actually talking to LikeBright. I want to say LikeBright. Sorry, Nick. Okay, good. So LikeBright.com, the founder, Nick Soman. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Okay, good. I'm very excited to speak with him because he's also out of the Seattle area, which Young Female Entrepreneurs is as well. And he's got a pretty hectic traveling schedule, so you're just going to be hearing his voice tonight and not his gorgeous face. We will be showing pictures of him as we go, though, so it's not going to be super awkward or anything like that. But before we welcome him on the show, I want to talk a little bit about what happened last week with Young Female Entrepreneurs. We have a few people to thank. We just got done doing the CNN Wifey Chat. So CNN International's leading women team co-hosted Wifey Chat with us. It's our Twitter chat for young female entrepreneurs that happens every other week on Twitter, obviously. And we talked about Hannah Rosen's book, The End of Men. And I'm sure you guys have seen interviews with her. She's been on every morning talk show, late night talk show there is, that's talking about how there is no longer that superiority of men or the male ego in the workplace, and that women are now rising up. And so we talked a lot about her book, and Hannah Rosen actually was on the chat with us. She was our featured guest. Journalist from CNN International was on the chat with us, and we were trending nationwide on Twitter on Friday night, which was awesome. So I just wanted to thank everyone that showed up to the chat. It was a very intense discussion. Not something we usually do here at Young Female Entrepreneurs, but definitely appreciated. We're storified on CNN from the chat, so a lot of you, if you were at the chat, are quoted on CNN now. So I just want to let you know that our next chat is on Tuesday. It's the 9th of October at 11 p.m. or 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 Eastern, and it's actually going to be hosted. So the whole topic that we're going around is perfect pitch, the perfect pitch, and Pitch Perfect is out. I don't know if a lot of you young women are seeing that movie trailer all over the place, but I am. So that's what our chat is on, is perfect pitch, not pitch perfect, but it's talking about how to perfect your pitch, whether it's to investors or in making a sale, etc. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I have a screenshot of our hostess. So we're going to be, let's see if it'll go up. No. Wrong. Marissa Vicario, she's fantastic. Yes, perfect. So I'm going to make sure that I have all of the information up at YoungFemaleEntrepreneurs.com, and you can find out more about where you can follow her. You can follow Young Female Entrepreneurs on Twitter, and you can make sure that you have Wifey Chat on your calendar. So hopefully I didn't talk too much about that or go over time, but make sure that you like us on Facebook and you follow us on Twitter so you can stay up to date, because we have one other big announcement that's coming up that's in November for you guys that I want to make sure that you stay tuned, that you follow us on all the appropriate channels so you can find out first about what it is. All good things are happening for young female entrepreneurs around the world. So make sure you stay tuned. So without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce to you Nick Soman of LikeBright.com. Again, it's a dating service that I just want to find out a whole lot more about because I think it's really interesting. So welcome onto the show, Nick.
Hey, thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. Like I said earlier, Nick has got a crazy, hectic travel schedule. And so it means a lot that you're actually on the show with us tonight.
Well, I really like talking to folks like you, and to the extent that I can learn, what it is that we can be building to be useful, it's just going to help us a lot as well.
Yeah, no, so why don't you tell us a little bit about the vision for LikeBright?
Sure. So the vision for LikeBright is to make it really, really easy to do two things. If you're a single person, we want to make it really easy to meet your friends' friends. And if you're a person who's in a relationship or just someone who likes to matchmake, we want to make it really easy for you to set your friends up.
So where was it that you got this idea, and how did it come about, or how did it come to fruition, I guess?
So, well, I got the idea through, decades of my own dating life, honestly. I'm happily engaged and soon to be married early next month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I found a fantastic woman, and I'm really lucky there. And the way that worked is, we met at a house party through mutual friends. And when I started thinking about my own dating experiences in life, I've always just had so much better luck when I could meet people my friends knew, and found that to be a much more comfortable and natural and really trusted experience than meeting randoms. And let's call it what it is. It's randoms, whether it's meeting them at a bar or at a club or on another dating site. I've just been really lucky to have great friends in my life, and any opportunity I could have to meet the people they knew, that always just worked out well for me. So I started kind of there, and I have a little sister too, and she became single around the same time that I met Anna. And so I started thinking about, her options, and she's, beautiful, wonderful, smart, and accomplished, and she's a few years out of school, and she's not surrounded by people she might want to date like she would have been if this had happened during college. And as I was thinking about the options that were out there, it seemed like they were all variants of that same random grab bag of single people. And the idea behind LikeBright, and I should be the first one to say that we've got work to do to make the product match the vision, is just to make it really easy to meet the people your friends know, so that you'll kind of know who you're talking to coming in.
All right, so now when we talk about LikeBright, this is a really, you said what the vision is and how it came about, and it's a little, I guess, vague. Because all right, so here's the thing. I think this is really cool, and I just want to make sure that this is very clear, that you can actually log in via Facebook and it collects your friends. Tell us a little bit more in detail of what's happening currently on the site.
Sure. So what's happening currently is you go to LikeBright.com, and it's LikeBright. We say like as in he likes you, and bright as in smart.
We've got it on the TV.
You connect in with Facebook, and we don't post anything crazy on your wall. In fact, one of the things with LikeBright is nobody can see that you're on it unless you post something and want people to know. And we did that because a dear friend of mine named Jane had the experience of signing up for Match, and within 2 weeks, a whole bunch of her employees saw that she was on site, and they started talking to her about it at work. And so on LikeBright, one of the interesting things is we show you your friends' friends when you sign in, but we don't say, this person uses the website and this person doesn't. And we do that intentionally so that you can sort of use it, and nobody would find out that you'd use the site at all unless you were mutually both on there and interested in meeting each other. And then the interface is really basic. If we don't know that you're in a relationship via Facebook, and we can assume that you're single, then we would give you a very easy way to directly connect with people who are friends of friends, or an equally easy way to reach out and get a little bit more information from the mutual friends themselves.
So when you log in, you actually have two choices. One says that you're looking for someone, and the other one is that you're taken. So what's the idea behind logging in? Because I'm married, and so I logged in as the one that I'm not looking for a relationship. What is that idea all about?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really some of the stuff that I'm most excited about in terms of where it's going. And what you probably found was that you suddenly were looking at your own friends, and were giving you a chance to sort of vouch for your friends. You may have clicked around a little bit and found that, there are pages where you can compliment your friends who are great. But this is really just the first step. What you'll be seeing over literally the next couple of weeks, and I'm pretty excited to see this change, is you're going to be able to actually matchmake. And I love setting people up. Part of the onus behind LikeBright is a lot of my friends, and really a lot of my female friends would often come to me and say, hey, I trust you. Do you know people that I should meet? And I wanted to make something that would make that a lot easier for me. And so there needs to be a role on site, just like there is in the real world, for people who want to make those matches. And we want to make it easy for you. So what we're going to do is, instead of just saying, well, great, pick one friend and then pick another friend, if that was all we were going to do, you could do that on Facebook or offline just as well. We actually want to give you a chance to hear our suggestions about friends of yours who might want to meet, some reasons why we think that might be a good idea. And that could be common interests or using similar words or both graduating from the same high school or trying to find those common bonds that could potentially make it easy for people to start that conversation. And then we want you to tell us if you're crazy or if you're not. And the thing there is, we know that it's not a computer matching people up that is what's going to make people comfortable here. It's really just the trusted voice of a friend who loves them. But if we can help prompt that and suggest some things, and hopefully, this might not happen in 2 weeks, but as we get better, make you go, oh, actually, that is a pretty good idea. We can be helping to create these things. And a recent announcement that I always, am pretty excited to share is one of our advisors and investors is the founding scientist of eHarmony. And so when we look at these reams of data that are available online and on Facebook, the idea isn't just to make yet another matching algorithm, because who gets excited about that? But, to be able to draw some good reasons, sort of like Pandora does, why are you listening to this music? We can propose potential matches and say, well, we think maybe these two would get along because, they both say the word buddy a lot on their profile, and they both just talked about Barack Obama, and, they both love Clint Eastwood and Mexican food. And just, it has to come from you. And you can say, okay, that's a good idea, or don't like that idea. And in doing so, you can help us get better. So we're going to figure out some of the data side stuff. But, the role here is, so many of these relationships that work for people offline are the ones that are instigated by people who know them and love them both. And we want to give those people a way to do that easily on the web.
Well, I think that's interesting that you bring up the point that you're bringing in data, and I think that's crazy that eHarmony is attached to it in any way. But I like this idea because when you go onto Facebook, you're actually, whether or not it's all truth or that it's, encompassing your entire reality, it's still stuff that is happening rather than just filling out a form and saying, yeah, I like that. Well, you might believe you like it. You probably, in reality, there's a number of instances where that's not something you actually like. You just want to like that. So I think that's interesting that you're playing with data that's more substantial, I guess. There has some backing to it. But as far as...
It's dynamic. And actually, I wanted to, just because it's really good that you brought that up. Let's call it what it is, too. If I say that I love foreign films and that I'm a fantastic chef on Facebook, my friends are going to laugh at me. It's not going to work because they're going to go on and they're going to comment and they're going to be like, yeah, right. And in some ways, our friends, can keep us honest. And then conversely, they can be the ones whose opinions really matter. And so another thing that we're doing a little bit on LikeBright and we'll do more of is giving your friends a chance to chime in and talk about what it is that makes you great. Sometimes hearing the voice of that person who knows you can be even more compelling for folks than how you might describe yourself.
So now, for anyone that's just joining us, I'm talking with Nick Soman of LikeBright.com, and if you're on the chat, make sure that you chat in questions for him. We've just been talking about the actual dating component on it, and it's really, doing my research, I saw the term social dating a few places. Is that something that you're kind of like, yeah, that's what we do?
Oh, yeah, because
Okay.
I don't really think of it as online dating, honestly. I used to sort of say, well, I think we can beat Match, and now I think the same problem on Match of being surrounded by a whole bunch of guys you don't know is the same problem at a bar for people like my little sister. That's the problem that I want to tackle. And I think social dating gets at the fact that dating is social. All we're trying to do is take this thing that's worked since the beginning of time. And truly, most people have done the research, meet via this shared social context. All this context is really available via the web. I use the phrase social dating because I don't even think this is really about online. I think this is about taking something that works offline and just making it easier.
So on that note, so social dating, you're thinking of this as being something different than online dating specifically. Now, there's an entire ecosystem that's sprouted up off of Match.com and eHarmony, and that there's these online dating experts that'll make sure that your profile's optimized, that, the way that you introduce yourself is to the T. So do you see that happening with something like LikeBright, where you're going to have professionals that have created entire businesses around the concept of social dating, or do you not see that? Is this supposed to eliminate the need for that?
No, I'd sure like to get there, and I guess I should say one of the reasons we were excited to do some work with eHarmony, and I'll throw one caveat out there. When we decided we were going to work, and we're not working directly with them, so I got to be clear. We're working with a guy who is their founding scientist who wrote their matching algorithm, fantastic guy who's since moved on. And so it's not a formal and affiliated relationship, but he's the guy that kind of came up with all this stuff. He's a fantastic guy whose heart is really in the right place of trying to bring people together. And one of the reasons that I approached him as an advisor and then was excited when he decided to invest is because anybody who wants to help create great relationships is good in my book. My suspicion from knowing the space pretty well is that there are a lot of people who are out there trying to make money on sort of another hookup site. And, unfortunately, I just don't think that is meaningful enough to uh, create change and make dating easier, particularly for women, but honestly, for guys like me too. That was never what I wanted. And I think all the people that you're talking about, as long as their hearts are in the right place and they're trying to drive real relationships, then I'm a fan.
Very cool. So since we're on the topic of getting a little bit more entrepreneurial, now your this service is fairly new. It's like a year or so out, right?
Not even a year. We've been playing with this kind of core concept for just about 5 or 6 months.
It's
We
crazy.
had some work before that, but being able to figure out some important technical things we needed to solve for us to believe that there can be a sustainable business at the end of this. This is we're a little bit like 5 months along, and I just closed our funding round a couple weeks ago, and now we really get to focus on making the product match the vision, and we're getting tons of feedback, particularly from women, to help make that happen quickly. We know
That's
we've got work to do.
awesome. Well, congratulations on that. Now, as far as how the vision actually got started with, or I guess that you were able to put the first foot in the door, you were in TechStars, right?
Yeah.
And how was that process?
Oh, TechStars is awesome. Uh, how can I be helpful? I mean, what specific questions do you have that might be interesting for your
Well,
audience?
what was the process like getting accepted into it, first of all?
The process for getting into TechStars is very much like TechStars itself, and that's, I think, something that's useful for people that are thinking about getting in. They want to see you show all the same qualities that are going to make you successful in the program. One of those is seeking out and responding to blunt feedback, frankly, about, why your concept sucks or why your product sucks or whatever else, and being able to take that and learn from it and hopefully turn something better around. If you're doing your job as an entrepreneur, I believe that that's something that should be starting day one, that you have your concept for your company and the Techstars application process. If you do it right, you should be getting feedback directly from the decision makers about why they wouldn't accept you if they had to decide today. And then you should kind of kick that off, a month or two before they actually have to decide. So you can go and say, well, you had that concern and we went and thought about it and we came back with this. And what other concerns do you have? You just want to get quickly into the mode of getting them to tell you the weak points in your application and trying to build that personal relationship and show them that you can really take that feedback. And then another thing is just, you know, it's a big mistake, and it's a little bit like I'm just a huge believer in social referrals. I'm trying to build an entire business around them, and my life has been enriched so much by them. It's a little bit like polishing up your resume and then sending it in via monster.com. You're just much, much better off if that relationship is personal. And so don't be afraid to approach the decision makers prior to the day that you have to send anything in, because it's going to be easier for them to say yes to you if they can remember your face when they're making the decision, even if the application isn't so beautiful and polished. I'll tell you, it took us some time to find our legs after Techstars, and part of the reason was we were still figuring out, what is it that we really want to build? What's this vision that exists? And what I've talked about, trying to compete with the alternatives offline, like the bars and the clubs and that part of the experience, that was kind of insight we gained from talking to a whole lot of women and realizing this just wasn't just an issue with online sites. But day one of Techstars, Andy Sack, who I love and is the Seattle director of the TechStars program, said, some of you will pivot over the course of the program. I'm looking at you, LikeBright. And I think that's a testament both to Andy's honesty, which is there's nothing like honest feedback to help your company grow, in my opinion, but also, they're bringing on the people. It doesn't have to be the most polished, pitch and idea yet, and you just need to show them that you'll hustle. And I also broke into the office and left Andy's favorite bottle of scotch. I was doing everything I could to show them that I can hustle, and I think that's a really important thing they select for too.
That was a lot of great tips. And there are a number of women that are trying to get into incubators right now, and they're having a hard time getting accepted. But as far as you talked about the feedback part, that was interesting. So, initiating the request for feedback, what's the process like? Is it literally just you pick up the phone and you talk to people? Do you have coffee dates? Do you have a survey that you send out to people? What is your process like for soliciting feedback from your users?
So we bring in a group of women that we don't know, and I usually find them via Craigslist, and we do this about once every 2 weeks, and we sit them down cold in front of the product, and we ask them to take a look at it and play with it, and just narrate their experience. And I have found that there's no substitute for looking over the shoulder of somebody who has no affinity for you in particular, and is just going to test your product and tell you whether it's working or whether it's not. We learn a ton from that, and then I'm just a glutton for feedback and in some ways critical feedback. I've got a lot of friends, both male and female, who are wonderful to me in that they'll offer detailed feedback in terms of what they like and what they don't. The biggest mistake that I've made before is trying to build something that nobody wanted. And, right now where we are with LikeBright, I was on NPR a few weeks ago and mostly was talking about the vision, and we crashed the site on the basis of the idea that people got that there's something interesting about this meeting friends of friends thing. I was as frustrated as I was that the site went down.
It's pretty awesome.
It is, but as frustrated as I still am that the product isn't yet where it should be in my head, and we're all working really hard to get us there, and I have a great team that's doing that. It's there's a demand for something there, and I got to figure that out in the process of building. And, I guess just the message here is do not be afraid to get people to tell you what they like or what they don't, because you don't want to waste a lot of people's time, especially really smart developers who are such a tremendous, boon to any company, and designers and the folks that you get to work with. You do them a favor and make sure people want what you're trying to build.
No, I think that's awesome. Now, as far as pivoting goes, you talked about that for a second. What's the deal with Pirate Bird? I saw it in a couple articles.
I will tell you. First of all, naming is a boondoggle. And I have a new strategy for naming. People sometimes ask, how did you get the name LikeBright? And I get to make up something fancy on the spot. The truth is, it was available for $7.99. The two words kind of rhyme. It reminded me of Light Bright. And it was sort of a fun word to say. And that's really how we picked it. And I honestly think a lot of naming conversations should go like that. Pirate Bird happened when we were in the middle of a very difficult time in the TechStars program. And I suspect what was happening is we were trying to find something fun to think about because the actual building of the product wasn't fun at that moment. And so we got into the naming hullabaloo and briefly changed our name to Pirate Bird just to basically reflect the fact that we wanted to spend time doing something other than building product. So we allowed ourselves to get into a long naming conversation. I woke up after a full night of sleep later. I talked to Anna about it. She told me that I was crazy. And then I validated that with some additional feedback and surveys. And we went back to LikeBright, and that's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Well, I think the branding, apart from the story being funny, but LikeBright, I think is really interesting because it's not the way that you've differentiated yourself. So you said this in a number of articles, is that you are really catering to women because women are at the backbone or behind a lot of what matchmaking that happens, at least trusted matchmaking. And so I like that it's not pink or that it's not overly, hey girls, come use this kind of thing. I think it's smart. I mean, it's intelligent and it doesn't speak down to you, which I really like. Now, as far as speaking of articles and some research, at the beginning of the year, you wrote a piece for GeekWire pledging to give back 5% to the Seattle startup scene from your exit. So, and you actually named a number of notable startups along with you. What's the premise? What's the idea behind this? And how do you think others can adopt, or why would you think others should adopt that in their local communities?
I don't know if others should or not. I can tell you why I did. I was out and talking to some angels in Seattle. And I grew up in this community, and I've always felt like this community is one that really supports its own. And sometimes gets, in my opinion, an unnecessarily bad rap vis-a-vis the Valley with regard to, people being willing to invest. And it may be that the norms in Seattle are a little bit different, but I just found I was blown away by the support that I've had from this community from day one. And so my own, ideas around the Founders Pledge, which I initially took with myself and my CTO, Richard Luck, I was tired of hearing whining and probably doing a little whining myself about, oh, the Seattle ecosystem and the funding community, and it's not the Bay Area and yada yada yada. And I was just thinking, okay, well, complaining isn't fun. What's the easiest thing that I could do to be able to feel like I was maybe taking a step to try to fix this? And so I said, if I'm ever lucky enough to actually get an exit from this, or to otherwise realize material wealth, I'll have not a leg to stand on if I'm going to complain about this, but not plan to do anything different if I'm in that position. And so, I talked to Richard about that. We both decided that we're going to pledge 5% to support our local startup ecosystem, if an exit was to take place at some point. And when I floated that idea to some local entrepreneurs, we got some heavy hitter support from folks like Rand Fishkin. And really, it started to take on a little bit of a life of its own. And I give that credit entirely to the Seattle community because, I think there's a recognition in Seattle that you have to walk the walk. Hopefully I'll at some point get that opportunity.
No, I hope you will too. It sounds like you are on the path, especially like you've been saying. The site I used it and it's fine. It's just like you said, there is some ways to go to really reach to see the full vision there on the site.
Yep.
I love everything that you've been doing. I think the culture, the company culture, there's a lot of other questions I would have liked to ask you, especially around the company culture and how you're building loyal fans around your brand. But I know that you need to head off. So I'm going to go ahead and let you go tonight. But why don't you tell us where we can find you after the live stream? So if women have additional questions for you, they'd be able to connect with the brand and yourself.
Let's do it. So, and actually, I get to throw in a little disclaimer here, and I guess I'm not supposed to do this. Like, I've had smart advisors tell me not to do this and tell you what I'm about to tell you, but I really like being blunt, and it's gotten me here so far.
Uh-oh.
So this is a direct message to women. No, it's very positive. We need your guys' help to make this what it should be. And the part that I feel totally confident about is that meeting people through your friends is a great way to go. It's a great way to get rid of some of that weirdness and awkwardness. I've got a fantastic team. We've got tremendous advisors. We've got wonderful women around our team, both supporting us and working with us, and on the team itself. And, I know as well as you will, if you get a chance to sign in, that for this to become as good as the vision, and this should be true for a very long time if I continue to do my job well, the vision hopefully grows too. But feedback is the right way to get us there. And I'm not afraid to say, I can learn the most from you guys. So where you can find me is nick@likebright.com. And I want to hear how you'd like to see this work. If I can make one ask of the audience, we have this chance to build this thing that's kind of amazing together. Mutual friends power a lot of positive interactions. I was actually having drinks last night with Chris Lee, who, Jennifer, I know you know.
Oh, Chris is awesome.
He's wonderful. And just finding those commonalities that exist between us, the vision itself is strong. And with the help of smart young female entrepreneurs, among others, we can get this there and have it be something that really is special and hopefully makes a lot of people's lives easier. So that's my hope. That's my ask. And I'm nick@likebright.com. Thank you.
All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. This month, actually, for everyone that's watching, is Guys' Guest Month on Young Female Entrepreneurs. If you've watched the show in the past, we do generally have young female entrepreneurs on the show, but I've recognized that a number of you don't actually know of other young men that own businesses, and there's plenty of them out there. There's like twice as many of us out there. So I've got to introduce you to them. I love what Nick is doing. I love the LikeBright brand. I think it's very interesting. And like he said, make sure that you connect with him over email, give your feedback, make sure that you log into the site because it's interesting. You don't have to be single. You can be married, happily married, and just want to better the lives of your single buds. All right, everyone, make sure that you like Young Female Entrepreneurs at facebook.com/Young Female Entrepreneurs because I'm going to make sure that I put in his URL and all the other fun stuff. Thank you so much to Nick, and thank you everyone that's watching. If your question didn't get answered on the live stream, make sure that you connect with him over on Twitter or through his email. Thanks, guys.